Okay, so here are all the things that we're going to need in order to create our little hoop. Obviously, this little guy is just sitting there being his beautiful self. I will be including some instructions on how to create this little guy as well. So we'll get 3 different ways of using the pattern that you have got for the mushroom hoop. So I'm just going to move him over there out of the way for a moment. So obviously for this you will need a hoop. This one I believe is a 4-inch hoop, or let's have a look, see the centimetre versions. Doopy-doo. So that's a 10 centimetre or 4-inch hoop. You can obviously do whatever size hoop you would like, but you will probably have to make your pattern pieces bigger in order to fit, or you could do it and then add more elements around your mushroom. That's absolutely fine as well. The pattern pieces are there for you to use, so you can use the leaf pattern over and over again to create an outline if you want to use a bigger hoop and use up some of the space that way. So that's a hoop. We've got a variety of different felts that we're going to use in our project. You can change the colours to whatever you would like. I have gone with a more traditional mushroom for my tutorial, but you can go to town, have some bright and colourful mushrooms if you would like, and if that's what you would like to do. Obviously a pair of scissors. I like these ones from Fiskars. Sadly I don't think they sell these anymore, but they are my go-to scissors because they've got a nice sharp point, so you can get into all the nooks and crannies when you're cutting out your felt pieces, and they're very sharp. So that's those. They do something similar. I think they do some snips, embroidery snips, which are a similar thing with the sharper ends on them. Obviously you use which scissors you have and any will work, but I was just saying that these ones are pretty good for a lot of things. So if you do a lot of felt work, something like that is well worth an investment. Needles, you won't need all of these. Obviously this is my little needle case. So needles, in order to sew you'll need one that's got a bigger eye in order to do the detailed work that you'll need with a thicker thread, and a smaller one just to applique your pieces down onto the backing. This is brilliant. It is a felt and foam tacky glue. Now I don't use glue on its own. I use this as a way to sometimes position pieces so that I can have them in the right place to sew, and that holds them in place. So I'll just, especially with the, let me have a look, the little dots on the mushrooms. Okay, so I have sewn around them as you can see, but before I did that I had a little tiny dot of glue just to keep them in position so that they hold where I want them to be. So not essential, but very useful. There is also another one by Beacon which is called a felt glue, which is equally as good. So either of those two things are going to be good to have if you want to do a few more felt pieces. Obviously if you're just going to do one thing, maybe this is not the best investment for you, but if you're interested in doing felt creations in any way, this is handy to have. Also if you use foam, so if you wanted to do some of the mushrooms in the funky foam stuff, you could cut them out and use this to stick on as well if you wanted to do, say, a greetings card or something using the pattern template. Okay, moving along, we have threads, so matching threads to the felt, which are always helpful. I tend to go DMC threads because I know I can trust them and I've used them a lot before, and I just have a whole selection of different threads. Obviously you could have ordinary sewing thread if that's what you've got, you know, the stuff that comes on the reels, that's absolutely fine. Whatever you have that matches in is going to be good. You could also, if you wanted to, rather than match to your felts, you could go with a contrasting thread just to add a little bit of interest. These are for transferring your pattern to your felt pieces. So if you want to draw around your pattern pieces, these are my go-tos. So I have this magic pen. It's a Madeira one. You can see it's well used because because I have literally worn off the writing on that one. This is great for dark colour felts and black especially. So just a simple jelly roll will help you transfer. With the jelly roll though, it will not fade or remove, so you have to do it on the back of your piece, so you'll have to reverse your pattern piece and draw around it so it's not shown on your final piece. Another thing that can be used is a friction pen. Now friction pens are great for fabrics because when you apply heat to a friction pen or friction, so if you rub like that, it's great. So it works on paper really well that way. If you use the end of it to get rid of the lines, so it literally disappears the lines afterwards. On fabric, I suggest you use either an iron or a heat gun. Very carefully with a heat gun. You don't want to go too close on that to burn your fabric. So these are all the things we're going to need, and then we're ready to get starting with our project. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mount our backing piece of felt inside our hoop. And the way we do this is we undo the little thread at the top until it's nice and loose and we can pop out the inner circle. And this is also handy for when we come to back the piece. So if you have a backing piece of fabric that we're going to put on the back of it to hide all the stitches, then it's an idea to draw around it using this, because you then got the precise amount of felt that you're going to need for the backing. But that's along the way. But thinking ahead, that's a really good thing to use as your template to draw out a piece of backing felt to go in your hoop. Back to now, what we need to do then is to position our backing felt over the top of our hoop. Try and centre it, because you want to have a little bit that we're going to pull in at the end. So literally placing your outer hoop over the top. You might need to loosen it a little bit more because the felt is quite thick. So pushing it down over the top like so, and you've got a nice taut piece of felt on your hoop. We've got all these pieces left then, which will be gathered in at some point so that we can then attach a backing piece when we've finished all our applique on the front, and then that can be displayed without showing all the things that have gone on here. Obviously some of us are very neat. I am not saying that I am very neat, but some people are very neat sewers, but again, it's just nice to finish it off with that backing piece that goes over there when we've done everything else. So that is the first thing that you'll need to do. So you have to pick out your fabric that you're going to use, you place it over and then push down on the outer ring over the top of it, remembering that you might have to tighten it up. You can tighten it up again afterwards, but this one looks like it's quite tight already. So that's our next part. Okay, so that bit done. We have then, these are my felt pieces that I have cut out for bits that I need to cut out of my felt. This is my pattern, sorry. So the pattern I've got here, I don't know if you can see it as well. Let me turn that one round, it's back to front. So I've got a pattern for the back of the mushroom. So what you'll need to do is print out your pattern piece, your pattern that I sent in the PDF, and then cut out the pieces. You can then transfer it onto either some cereal board, cereal cardboard, or as I've done here, which is I use a little bit of transparent plastic. You can sometimes get this on the bottom of packaging. I save it for this purpose because I think I've had plastic patterns I've had for years, so it's always handy to keep hold of any bits that you get so that you can use it for this. I am a womble, so I do tend to hold on to things like that. Anyhow, so the next thing we need to do is this one is for the pin brooch. So if we were doing this guy here, you would need that for that. But for this occasion, when we're doing the hoop, we don't need that piece. So that piece can go out of the way. It goes with him. You can sit on the side there and watch. So the next thing I need to do is to draw the cap onto my felt. So I'm traditionally using the red, and I'm going to try and use my friction pen for this one. I have reversed my pattern piece. Do you see I turned it over so that I am just not going to worry about any of the pen showing. Even though this is removable, I just think it's a good idea to do any markings on the back just in case anything stays over. So I've marked that out. That's ready to cut out now. The next thing I need is a stem. So this is my stem fabric, and it's also going to be the fabric for the little dots as well. I tend to freehand my dots. I will, you've obviously got some on your pattern piece, but I like to make mine all individual. So if you would also like to do that, then you know that's absolutely fine. Just cut out pieces that you need and position it on your felt piece when you get to sewing that on, but don't worry for that for now. We will do the stem. So again, I'm going to do the back of my fabric, so turn over my pattern piece, although I think this one's quite symmetrical anyway. Always remember to make the most of your felt. You don't want to start drawing in the middle of a piece of felt. Just make sure, because this felt obviously doesn't have a grain, so you can use any part of it you'd like. So there is my stem on that piece, which I will then cut out, and I have got a piece for the gills. So that bit there is this bit here. Again, reverse it so that all the pieces will go together. That is all drawn around now, and that is now ready to cut out, and then we can start to put it all together. If you're going to put some leaves on your piece, obviously is now the time to get your leaf pattern. Do the same thing, cut it out so that we've got things to position later on, and I will show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so here I have cut out all my pieces from the felt that I'm going to need. I like to do my embellishments of each piece before I attach them to the hoop. You can literally just put it on the hoop and then try and sew it on and add the things afterwards, but I think this is an easier way. So how I would do it is, first of all, I would put my pieces on here. Actually those I would have as his little cheeks, his cheek spots there, and maybe that bigger piece there. Obviously you just play around with this and fit it how you would like it. Trying to, obviously not too many spots, but just enough so that you've got an idea of how you'd like it. But, let's have a look. Let's pop that one up there. That's however you would like it to be. Okay, so if you see on mine, these would then be glued down with a little dot on the back of each one just to hold it in place, and then I would stitch around the edge with a stab stitch or a straight stitch. I don't know which one you call it. I always call it a stab stitch because basically you're just going around the edges. So that's what I do with that. You can embroider the eyes, so you could do little French knots. You could have felt eyes if you wanted to, but my suggestion are these, which are really cool. They are, I'll show you the name of the things, like They are called Artemio, and they are 5mm brads. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so they are little brads with the piece on the back, a bit like a paper holder. Okay, and these I got from Amazon. They're probably available in other places, but the 5mm ones I like. You can get bigger ones than this, smaller ones than this, but I actually really like the 5mm ones. I think you get 100 in a pack, so there's quite a few, like 50 pieces you could do if you've got 3 eyes on a piece, and obviously less. But my mushroom has 2 eyes, so that's all good. So what we want to do is to decide. I'm just going to remove these for now so they get stitched on when you stuck them down. I'm just, for benefit of this video, just going to take them off for a minute. So I would get my pen, and actually which one? I used my white pen for this just to find out. So looking at it, I think I want an eye about there and an eye about there. So just marking where my brads are going to go. Now with the brads, these literally you just poke them through, as she said. There we go. And on the back, this opens out into, that holds that in place, and it also as well pulls the eye back into the fabric a little bit so it looks more realistic, I was going to say, but how many mushrooms do you know have got faces? But yeah, just to give it more of a cutesy look. Also with the brads you get a little bit of shine in the eye, which is quite nice, which brings it to life. An alive mushroom. So that's how I would attach those. It's really simple, really quick. You don't have to worry about anything because that's going to be hidden when you put it on your hoop, so the back of that's going to be sewn on, so you won't see that part anyway. And I think that's just a nice way to add a little bit of extra detail into your mushroom. The next thing I would do is to stitch his mouth. Now I will get a piece of cotton. This is a pearl cotton. It's a little bit thicker than the embroidery thread. I'm just seeing if I've got one with a name on it. It's this one. So it's the Anchor pearl cotton, and has it got a number on it? It usually has a number, but it comes on a reel like that. It's not the really thick thread, it's the next one down, and it's like twisted, so it's not got strands like an embroidery cotton. If embroidery cotton is all you have, then go with that. I just find this a little easier. So I've got a small amount here, and what I'm going to do is grab my needles, and this is where you need one with a little bigger eye on it. If you can see, I don't know if you can see that one, but the eye is just over here, a little bit bigger, which also helps because me and threading needles is not a fun thing. Let's see if I can actually do this one. No, it's not going to work. Let's try again. There we go. Handy thing to have is a needle threader. I do have one. Do not have one with me at the moment, so we're just winging it. Okay, so what we want to do then is to decide where our mouth is going to be. Now I like mine quite close to the eyes because it gives it a cutesy look. So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go there. Just a big long stitch. Now in order to get my mouth, I'm going to come up, because it's got a little bit of a curve there. I'm going to come up in the middle of it, and this is kind of like couching it down. So I'm going to go like that, and there you have his little mouth. Okay, so the little mouth is on there now. I just finished that off at the back by going into the stitch from the back, wrapping it around once and pulling tight to make a knot. We just snip that off. So when you've done that, you should have, obviously I haven't at the minute, but you will have your dots, your eye positions, and this will all be then ready to put onto the gill part. Now with this one, I think what I would do is I would glue down the stem onto there and then add in those little stitches for the gills, just to give it some definition. It kind of adds a little bit of detail in, so you've got some gill detail there, and then this bit will fit on top. Again, what you could do is, because this fits over there, you could have a little bit of glue on there just to hold it all in place. So you position it how you want it, like that and like that, and then this is all ready once you've got that all together, because this will be stuck down. I'd leave it for a little while just to set a little bit, so that it's not going to be coming apart when you're trying to sew it. So glue those little bits down, leave it for 10 minutes, sew, and then you can start to transfer it onto your piece. Obviously imagine this is all stuck together. So imagine that I have stuck all the pieces down. A little bit of imagination going on here. That bit on there. I would have my gills all on there. All the dots would be on my mushroom. And then you can start to add in your leaf pieces. Now these can just be popped on there, and you can just put a little dot of glue to hold them in place. These I would embellish when they are on your hoop. Those are the only bits that I would do when they're actually on the hoop, so that you've got more of an idea of how they're going to sit. You could move your mushroom up so it's more central, or you could leave a space, in which case you could put some kind of words on there. So if you wanted to put a name on it, maybe that would be a good idea, or you could put a little phrase. Obviously you've got an amount of space there, so think about how much you're going to use it up. Or you could add more leaves in, different shapes, something else into your background. So let's move him up a little bit, because I want mine to be more central. And move his leaves up. And now, once I've got all that done, imagining again that I've got all the other bits on there, so all the bits get sewn onto that before it goes on, and then I would sew around the pieces using a stab stitch. If you look at this one, you can see what I mean. You're going in and out. There is on the pattern some instructions, some basic instructions, but if you want to have a look for a stab stitch or a straight stitch, that's what we're looking for there. You could straight stitch round it, round the edge. You could back stitch it. I prefer this stitch because I think it adds something, and it's my style. It's the way I've always done it. You could obviously try different ways if you wanted to. So that's all ready now to sew up, obviously with these little dots on. Let's stick those on there. We need his cheeks. Let's get those in. Positioned on. That one goes on there. That one there maybe. That one over there. Let's move that a little bit. Move that one up. Pop that one in. Oops. And that's how it would be if I'd stuck those and sewn those down. You don't have to sew them down, you just have to look at it and see how it goes. Okay, so here is the piece. I have sewn around all of the dots now. I know they were glued, but I wanted them to be extra secure. He's got his little mouth in there. The gills have been straight stitched onto the backing there, and everything has been sewn around the edges, so you can see that everything has had sewing around it, so that it's now attached very firmly onto your backing. The leaves, I added in some little leafy stem onto each one of those. You can now, if you want to, add in little sequins or beads or any other thing that you would like to decorate your mushroom with. I have also, because this was a square piece, I've cut round, so I've got vaguely about 1 centimetre, probably over in some areas. It doesn't really matter completely how much you've got there, because what's going to happen next is this, when you finished all your sewing, so everything's on there, all the sequins and everything, we're going to flip it over, and then we're going to do a running stitch. It's kind of like literally just a running stitch around the edge, and then that gets gathered up like so. It will look a lot better than this when it's gathered up. I will show you when I've done it. And then obviously the backing piece of felt will go on to cover all of those stitches. So I'm just going to make a start on the running stitch, and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so I've loaded up my needle with some thick thread, which is this kind of thread, nice and thick and strong. And all I'm doing now is I found the top, and from the top I'm doing a running stitch just around the edge of the felt that we trimmed. This is going to go all the way around. You can see how it pulls in. Okay, so I want you to continue with that all the way around to the end, and then we'll come back and see what we need to do next. Okay, so we've got to the end. I've pulled that. I think I've got a hole in this. I think this needle's actually got a hole in the top. Let me see if I can find a different one. This will be good. Throw that through. Okay, so you pull it tight and kind of thread it through that next bit there. Pull it up so that you've got a nice piece and it looks like it's folded in. You kind of got to fiddle with it just a little bit. Get yourself a nice knot in there. Pull that tight, and that should now hold in enough for you to sew on your backing. Now what we're going to do now is you can either with snip that off. With a similar coloured felt, you could do a backing circle that just stitches onto there, or you could do a contrasting circle. I'm going to pick something. I think I might do the green actually. I might do a green backing on mine for this one. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut out a circle. Remember I said earlier about the frame inner being a really good template for getting that. Well, I'm going to cut out mine now, and then we're going to have a go at sewing that onto the back of there. Okay, so I've cut out my circle that's going to go on the back. When you hold this in, you think, oh, that's not going to fit, but it actually will. Basically this will stretch out to fit over there, and you're just going to over sew all the way around that circle just to hold in those stitches to cover them over. I'm going to use a thick thread. I've got, it's not exactly matching, but it's almost there, so I'm going to use this thread and I'm going to over sew onto the hoop with that thread. So let me cut a piece off. Helps if I can find the end of the thread. Be with you in a second. Okay, so I've threaded my needle. I'll put a knot in the end. I'm going to start it underneath that piece of felt that I've just cut out. And now I'm going to start at the top of my hoop. What I'm going to do is in with my needle through the brown felt, back out to the front, in with my needle, back through the brown and green felt, whoops, and in, just dropping everything on my desk, It's very messy on my desk at the moment. In, put it close. And this is going to happen all the way around till you get back to the beginning again. And we're going to tie it off, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so here it is. That's the front and that's the back. So I've very roughly done this. You will probably do this an awful lot neater than I did, because I wanted to rush it and finish it off so that I could get this completed before we lose the daylight. Sadly, it is October, and so the daylight is not lasting as long as it used to. So there's your finished piece. Finished off on the back. You could put a tag on it if you wanted to say if it's a present for somebody. You could just write something on there and stick that on, but I think it's great as it is. If you wanted to, you could finish off this top end with some a little bit of ribbon, but that's all ready for hanging. You can just literally hang it up with the little bit at the top there, making sure that that is nice and tight, okay, because you don't want that to come undone. And there it is. That's your little mushroom hoop hanging. Obviously on the pattern piece you will have instructions on how to make this little brooch guy, or it could be a key ring. And also, if you added in a hanging, you could also double side this so that it could hang up as a decoration, or you could make a few of them and they could be a mobile. So many options. If you also cut this out of card, if you cut the pattern out of card, put it on the front of a greetings card, that would also be another use for your pattern. And as I said previously, you could use the funky foam to create something a bit more 3D on a greetings card as well. So lots and lots of options. I hope to see some of your creations. If you would like to tag me in them so that I can see what you've made from the pattern. I always like to see how everybody's got on with that. So have fun and enjoy a little creation moment with your little mushroom guy. Thank you.